Hey there, everybody. Robert Taylor with Wonderscape Creations, continuing on with the World Builder series, specifically with the auto material. So we are going to get into creating the colors, making it look better than just black and white. But before we do, I do want to provide a brief shout out to my Patreon supporters. If you would like to join the community, the link is down below. So uh, today we will get just the general setup ready, and then tomorrow, not tomorrow, in the next episode, we will start working on all of my functions that are within the materials. Because I did tell you we would start getting into the materials. I don't want things to just stay black and white today. So let's go ahead and get that started. So in the landscape folder, in the material functions folder, next to masks, we're going to create a new folder called material layers. Open it up. I'm going to right click, new folder, functions. Open this up, and we will right click on here, type material function, and this one we will name MF material layer base WBT. Then we'll open this up, and the very first thing we're going to do is get a set material attributes. Now I like to use this because it's smaller. You can always do make material attributes, which gives you everything, but again, I find that frustrating, tedious, and annoying. So first we're going to click on that. We need 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we will start with the base color. So the first thing we want, because this is just the start, we obviously want a texture sample. Again, make sure you change the from texture asset to shared wrap. If you don't, we're going to keep running into issues. And then for now, we will plug this into the base. Obviously, there's currently no color. So we'll drag out, type in input. And this one we will name, not texture, albedo. Then I'm going to do a texture 2D. No, sorry, it's a texture object. And we will use, sorry, I need to find it, default diffuse. Perfect. I believe it's this one. And we will place that in here. Check mark this, so it'll use this one regardless. Next one is not metallic. Sorry, I'm going through my notes here. We need to set these before we go any further. After base color, we want, for me, you can have this in any order you want. Oh, that's why. Control Shift W. Yeah. Sucks that I have to set this every time, but it works. There. Make this easier for you guys to see. We want ambient occlusion. Okay, and then we want specular, then roughness. Oops. Then we want the normal. And then we want displacement. All right. Now then, obviously, the next thing we want to do is copy and paste. And I don't have a default for this. Let's see what they got here. We'll just go default white grid low. Think it should be fine. We'll find out, won't we? Then we're going to pull out of the texture input. Define this so that I can do another texture object. There we go. Set in there. We will call this one mask. And the mask is what's going to hold our ambient occlusion, our roughness slash specular, because just in case you didn't know, roughness and specular are essentially opposites. So whatever, if roughness is 1, specular needs to be -1, that kind of thing. So we pull those from the same mask. And then displacement, which is the height. It's generally called height mask, the height texture. There we go. So for now, place this in here because we put the let's see, sorry, I had to check so I had it right. I do AO and the R, and then roughness right here, specular, I believe it's the specular. Let me double check real quick. Yeah. Specular is 1 minus whatever the roughness is. And then we will do this one more time. Copy, place, paste, not place. We want this to be the default normal. Oops. So let's copy paste that as well. Put that into textures. This will be called normal. Default normal. There we go. That's going to bother me. Oops. For the RGB, put that into normal. So here we have this so far. Hit save. The next thing we want to do, put that over there because we're going to use that later, is come back to this. Go out of the functions folder back into materials. We're going to right click, material, function. Now you can name these whatever you want, but for me, I have a specific naming convention that I'll be sticking to. Biome 01, WBT. These are what's going to hold everything. So, you know, your grass, your rocks, all the variables and parameters will be held within this. Open this, come back to the material layer base because there's one thing we forgot to do. We are going to expose the library, and right now we have world building masks. The next thing we need is just world building materials, so we'll make that 2.0. Yeah, probably. We'll see what happens. So we want this to be 1.1. We'll just stick with 1.1. World building material functions. Okay. Save it. Right click. There we go. This, as you can see right now, things are out of order and whatnot. So let's go back in here. First thing we want to do is drag on these. We want this to keep what it has right there. And we want this to be first, the mask to be second. So we'll make that a 1. Need to be 2. Hit save. There we go. Everything's set how we want it. So First thing we want to do, texture object. Should have made it a parameter, so right click, convert to parameter, and we will name this Biome 01 albedo. Drag that in here. And then copy and paste. Mask. Just go with default opacity, doesn't matter. Default diffuse. Then we come out of here. Whoops. Copy paste. Make this one normal. And default normal. Just like that. There we go. So we hit save. And then we come click on this right here. We want to expose library. We want 1.2 world building material layers. Save. Now that we want to come in here, strange that, oh, that's fine, wrong spot. For now, we don't need any of this stuff, we're going to delete it. We are in our master auto material. Click on the big node here and change to use material attribute to shrink it down. We will then right click and bring in our biome. We will hit save, let it do its thing. So as you can see here, we now have our landscape started. And now we're going to go into bridge. You're going to want to pause to find the materials that you want to use. If you want to use what I am using, I'm going to be downloading the clover patches on grass, the Icelandic scattered rocks, and the Icelandic cracked rock. So these three are what I will be using for this part of the tutorial. So I will see you in a moment. I'm going to pause it so I can get these downloaded. Alright, I'm back, and while I was going through all this, I remembered the difficulties I went through. So for those of you that can't get logged into Quixel, it keeps denying your login. You have a pop-up showing up right here. You need to come over here to go into preferences and make sure that the file path is the correct file path, and then you need to hit save and wait. This will eventually go away. Once it goes away, everything will start to properly work. Additionally, make sure that the plugin is updated if you're using Quixel. I myself generally use stylized textures, but because these are free and I'm doing this tutorial and not using paid assets so that you guys can follow along, that's what we're doing. Alright, so as you can see, I've got my textures all prepared. The next thing I'm going to do, this is for Biome 1, so I'm going to check mark these. Biome is the name that I use for the grass, or the sand, or the snow. Biome. Otherwise, it's dirt, cliff, biome. That's how I do things. There is something wrong with that one, which we will look at in a moment. So normal, mask. Let me see what the problem is. 1 second. Alright, so the problem is within the base texture that I'm using right here. VT is showing up, and I don't know why. I have not turned virtual texturing on yet. But for some reason it's on, so we need to come into the texture. Let's see, VT? No. Somewhere in here, is an option to select. So, I don't know why I did that because it never helps. Let's find the check mark, shall we? One second. Alright, so I just had to go and find, because again, I don't have anything check marked on for runtime virtual textures to even be working, so the option to check it isn't even there. But that doesn't mean we don't have textures that have it. So what you have to do is click on the albedo, come down here, and keep clicking on these till you find the one. This one was an engine materials. That one does not have virtual texturing on. So hit save. Now when I come back to the master material, now I've got my grass. Looks pretty, doesn't it? Alright, fantastic. So before we end this episode, I'm going to go through one method, the first method that we'll be using to remove tiling. I go through several different methods that I utilize, and we are going to be getting that all set up right this very second. So let's go back into the material layer here. We're going to pull this bad boy all the way out here. And the next thing we want, let's see, is we want to get a texture created. So let's hold down this search browser to bring us back to this. And we're going to right click, new folder, call this one base functions. Open it up. Material function, whoops. MF underscore albedo noise underscore WBT. Open this up. And the first thing we're going to want to do is get a multiply. Then we're going to pull out of here, input vector 3, and we will name this one albedo. I'm going to drag out of the B for a power node, drag out of the exp for an input that we will name increase noise contrast, and we'll drag out of the power node and get a multiply, and out of the multiply drag out and do an input, one that we want to call increase noise brightness, and then do an add out of the B. We want a 1 minus node, and then an input that we will call increase noise darkness. And from the add, we will another input. This one needs to be a vector 3. And we will name it albedo noise. Alright, so now we want this to be 0, 1. We'll do that. 2, 3, and 4. Now we want to expose to library. We want this to be the same as this, the layer base. So copy it, paste it here, save. So now right in here, yes, in the biome, not in the biome, we want to be in the layer base, material layer base. Right click, 1.1, we want the albedo noise. So notice these ones are all lit up. It's because they are all required, so we're going to make it as such. So now we're going to copy and paste all of this. This is going to be called albedo noise. For this one, I'm going to do macro. So I like to do the micro variation. Anything that's black and white will do. Place that into here. And then we want to get some more inputs made. They are going to be scalar. So copy, paste, paste. This one will be albedo noise contrast. Then albedo noise brightness. Albedo noise darkness. And if I recall correctly, let me check real quick. Yeah. Hold down the 1 for a 1. We're going to put those in here just like this. Make sure the check mark is made. Connect these to the correct one. Contrast into contrast, brightness into brightness, darkness into darkness. So next thing we want to do is we have this at 2. So we want him to be at 3, 4, 5, and 6. So as you can see, things are starting to get a little complex, and we'll be doing a cleanup before we end. And also, as you can see, now you can see we have a complete and total change in the material. For those that didn't notice, just pull the RGB back into base color and you'll see a massive change. So now, already, without even attempting it, if I hit save, we have noise showing up. That's starting to darken everything. Fantastic. So come in here, because we don't have anything set yet. In the Biome 1, we now have these nodes that we need to set up. Let me check the time here. Alright. So we will end it here. In the next episode, we will get the UVs set up so that we can change the sizes of the grass and the noise so that they're not interconnected. That way we can not have to worry about those things. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.